Now, the next thing I want to talk to you about is not really a biblical prophecy, but I still think I have to talk to you about it. Because there was a mystic by the name of St Malachy who lived back in the 11th century. St Malachy claims that he had a spiritual experience one day, and while in a trance, God showed him all of the popes that would exist from his time until the last pope. Malachi was given a prophecy of 112 popes. And in these 112 popes, there were given signs, little clues as to the identity of each one, all 112. Well, the writings of Malachi were stored away in a vault by one of the popes for about 300 years. They didn't have printing presses in those days, so the possibility of circulating the writings of St. Malachy were very small. But when Gutenberg invented the printing press, all of a sudden someone printed the prophecies of St. Malachi. And as the prophecies of St. Malachi began to be known, people became very interested, and they started counting the popes. Well, several hundred years had passed by that time. However, 112 total popes from St. Malachi to the last pope. Well, what's in fact happening right now? Pope John Paul II, who just died in 2005, was the 110th pope. No wonder interest in the prophecies of St. Malachi are reviving right now. When the cardinals came to Rome to elect the 111th pope, an article appeared out of India the day before the election. A man said to the cardinals, "You must elect a giant spiritual leader. You must elect a pope that can appeal to young people. You must elect someone that can hold the church together." But he said, there's one more thing you must pay attention to when you elect the new pope tomorrow in the Sistine Chapel. Make sure you don't elect a pope that has anything to do with the olive, because the clue for the 111th pope was the glory of the olive, whatever that means. Well, the conclave was held, the white smoke came out of the Sistine Chapel chimney, and the word went out, we have a pope. When the identity of the pope was disclosed, it was Cardinal Ratzinger of Germany, and everybody thought, glory of the olive. It has nothing to do with it. I mean, you've never heard of a Ratzinger olive, I'm sure. And so everybody thought, surely not, this doesn't have anything to do with anything, even though he's the 111th pope. Everybody was interested, though, in finding out what his name would be that he would rule under. You know, when popes are elected, they don't rule under their own name. They take a name like Pope John XXIII or Pope Pius XII, the last one, Pope John Paul II. So everybody wondered, how will Cardinal Ratzinger rule the church? What name? Because when a man picks a name, it usually is indicative of something that means something special to him. Well, the announcement was made the next day that the Pope would rule under the name of Benedict XVI. And everybody wondered, what's that got to do with anything? Saint Benedict was the patron saint of Europe. He was a very powerful man, and he gave birth to a powerful order called the Benedictine Order. Well, the Benedictine Order has been powerful in the Roman Catholic Church for a long time, and it has a symbol. You may be interested to know, and by now you've guessed it. The symbol of the Benedictine order is the olive. So he chose the glory of the olive. Now that he's the Pope representing the Benedictine order. So the question has to be asked, are we right now watching the 111th Pope? Now the prophecy says that in the days of the 112th Pope, Rome will be destroyed. Well, the prophecies of the Bible. I don't know what to say about the prophecies of St. Malachi. I don't know whether I believe in them or don't. I'm simply telling you that if this is coincidence, it's very coincidental. But I do know this. The Bible says that right at the time of the Battle of Armageddon, the city of Rome is going to be destroyed. And that's what it says happens at the 112th Pope. Now, it's really interesting that this Pope just elected was elected at the age of 75. The cardinals chose an older pope on purpose because Pope John Paul II had ruled the church for so long that he had totally changed the texture of the church. They felt like they did not want a pope that would rule for a long time, so they picked a man 75 years of age. Today, he's 76 years of age. So how long will he rule? If, in fact, he is the next to the last pope, and all the other signposts that we're talking about today are coming to pass right now, then perhaps St. Malachi was on to something. Perhaps the next pope will be the last pope. Now remember, in the St. Malachi prophecy, it says the last pope will be Peter the Roman. Now, whatever that means, apparently he's going to be a person from Italy. We've had 2 popes in a row not from Italy, the first 2 popes not from Italy in 455 years. All of a sudden, it looks like if St. Malachi's prophecy is correct, and I can't tell you whether it is or not. It's not biblical. It's just something that happened. But if, in fact, it is correct, after this pope dies, the next pope elected will preside over the destruction of the city of Rome. Several times in the book of Revelation, Rome is referred to as Mystery Babylon. Revelation 17, Mystery Babylon is called the city of 7 hills. Rome is the city of 7 hills. And the destruction of the city of Rome is mentioned several times in the book of Revelation. And that's what St. Malachi said. So here we are. You got St. Malachi's word, which you have to take with a grain of salt, but you got the Bible that you can take to the bank. And it's telling us, you and me, that we're getting closer and closer to the second coming. I think the sign says 8 miles to Indianapolis. Signpost.
Gary Stearman, time for another daily update from Prophecy in the News. It's Thursday, the 21st of March. In studio with me today, Tom Horn, Cris Putnam. Now, you remember that they collaborated on this book, Petrus Romanus. April 2012 was the issue date on that book. And Tom, a lot's happened since April 2012. Go into the details of everything that's happened at the Vatican that were predicted in this book.
Yeah, well, we actually went out on a limb predicting that Pope Benedict would step down. We thought that he would step down in March or April of 2012, and since no pope had done what we said he was going to do for 600 years, we kind of put our neck out there on the chopping block. But that's what we thought was happening. We even felt that there was something unusual, prophetic, that was unfolding around this. So we made the prediction in the book. We rushed to get it out by April last year because we thought he was going to step down in March or April. And we have found out since that indeed he did step down in March of 2012. He did it secretly. He did it internally at the Vatican, only to a handful of cardinals who are members of the Curia, the Vatican government, and they kept it in a strict reserve. They kept it as a secret. Now, elsewhere in our book, we said, but if he doesn't step down in March or April, we think he certainly will before the end of 2013, and lo and behold, February 2013, the Pope comes forward and makes official his resignation, which, so in a very strange way, we were actually right in both instances. And of course, what really got Cris and I busy was about 3 weeks before the Pope resigned, I went on a radio show and was talking with Steve Quayle, and I said that the Pope's resignation is imminent. And about 21 days later, he stepped down, and then our phone started ringing, and everybody in the world wanted to know, okay, who's your insider at the Vatican?
Well, one of your insiders is Cris Putnam, and he's a guy who knows how to dig deep when it comes to basic research. And your very deep and highly systematized pattern of research, Cris, is what really puts the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae when it comes to Petrus Romanus.
Well, thank you very much, Gary. You know, a lot of people are aware that this book talks about this 900-year-old prophecy of St. Malachi, but I mean, not as many people are talking about. But you know, I spent just as much time writing about Israel There's 2 chapters on Israel in this book, and just as much as I wrote about the Malachi prophecy. And the thing that's interesting is we also talked about rumors that the Vatican was trying to get sovereignty over certain holy sites in the old city of Jerusalem. Now, we all know that Bible prophecy centers on the city of Jerusalem, and that's where we expect Jesus to return. That's where we expect the final events to play out. So, if our thesis is right, if this final pope is the biblical false prophet, if that hypothesis is correct, we would expect him to have a seat in Jerusalem. Well, in February of 2013, the internet was ablaze with the announcement that they had resolved that negotiation, and that the Hall of the Last Supper in the building called the Cenacle on Mount Zion was going to be given over to the sovereignty of the papacy.
Wow. This new pope, a very unusual man from Argentina, you predicted that he would come, or would probably come, of Italian descent. Comes from Argentina, of Italian descent. These things are very meaningful. And by the way, Pope Francis I is the answer to the media's dream. Because, this man is photogenic, he is likable, lovable, took the name Francis. It's an astonishing PR coup in one way, but it's something else too, right?
Yeah, it was actually a greater fulfillment, if you will, of the final line in the prophecy of the popes than we could have even hoped for. You remember last year we did a show with you in which I said that the new pope does not need to be named Peter. All he needs is to be of Italian descent in order to be a fulfillment of the final line, Petrus Romanus. And of course, George Bergoglio, who's taken the name Pope Francis I, is of Italian descent. Both his mother and his father were Italian, so he's of Roman descent, fulfills the line Petrus Romanus. But it gets even better, naming himself after Francis of Assisi. Francis of Assisi's original name was Francisco di Pietro, or Peter di Bernardone, a person who was an Italian.
Wow.
He was a Roman, and his name can literally be translated Peter the Roman. So he names himself after him. Secondly, and this really blows me away, that I know that Bergoglio knows this. He's a very educated man. He's a Jesuit, right? He's got degrees both in theology and science. Well, Francis of Assisi is the guy who prophesied that when the final pope arrived, he would be a pope under the control of Satan. In fact, he uses the term a destroyer, not a true pastor, who will, through cunning, he will appeal, he will be cunning, he will be favorable, the media will love him, and he's going to lead the world astray. That's what the namesake of Bergoglio's, new Pope Francis said. And then the third and final thing is he is a Jesuit. Now that we didn't see coming. There's never been a Jesuit who's been elected to the pontificate, but as a Jesuit, he perfectly fulfills what we outlined in Petrus Romanus as a pope who would emphasize the supremacy of the Roman Catholic Church and of the pontiff over all other religions and all other religious leaders in the world, and he's being heralded as such even by Protestants now who are saying this is our pope.
That's astonishing. And I see that Chris is holding one of his research tools over there. You've got a book, and I assume you want to read a quote out of that book.
Certainly. This is the book that Malachi Martin wrote about the Jesuit order when he got released from his vows to expose what he thought was a threat to the Catholic Church. The title of the book is The Society of Jesus and the Betrayal of the Roman Catholic Church. What's interesting is the thesis of the book is stated right in the first paragraph. I'll read just a little snippet. Here it says, a state of war exists between the papacy and the religious order of the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus, to give the order its official name. That war signals the most lethal change to take place within the ranks of the professional Roman clergy over the last 1,000 years. Okay, so the whole thesis of this book is that the Jesuits had become humanistic and rationalistic, the embrace of Darwinism, the embrace of Pierre Chardin's kind of mystical evolutionary pantheism, that they had embraced these really anti-biblical ideas that fundamentally undermine key theological tenets of the Bible. Malachi Martin objected to that. Now, I wouldn't agree with all of his Catholic beliefs, but he saw them as a modernist threat to the traditional theology. And the fact that we have the first Jesuit Pope tells me that this war has been resolved and the Jesuits won.
The book is Petrus Romanus, published last April 2012. Yours for $19.95 plus shipping and handling. However, we're including it with a package. Their new book, Chris and Tom have come up with Exo Vaticana, which takes Petrus Romanus to the next step. And it's all about the Vatican's belief in aliens. And that's all I'm going to say right now. Order both books, ask for the Project Lucifer and the Final Pope package, and you get a free data DVD, which has literally hundreds of items on it. The research that Tom and Chris have actually used to put together these books, this library alone is worth the price. Believe me, it's a wonderful data DVD. Project Lucifer and the Final Pope package, yours for $39.90 plus shipping and handling. And you've got the number on your screen even as we speak. Gentlemen, we are down to the last minute or so here. Any final thoughts?
Well, I'm looking forward to tomorrow's show because I think now the rubber will hit the road.
And we're going to talk about Exo Vaticana, and I know that there was a sense of being driven onward in a kind of a hurry. Chris, isn't that right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every time we think that we're going to be able to take our time and research, I mean, the events just started happening. I mean, Pope Benedict steps down. I mean, we're just driven by history.
And history is moving at light speed today, ladies and gentlemen. I've been writing articles on Bible prophecy for many years now, and even I can't believe what I'm writing about these days. Surely Jesus is coming soon, so keep looking up.